Good evening. My name is Devonna Teamer, and today I will be presenting to you the effects of tax evasion on the market. By definition, tax evasion is the non-payment of taxes as through the failure to report taxable income to the IRS. Generally, it's done through means, illegal means, to avoid paying the taxes. This act is different from tax avoidance. Tax avoidance, which is completely legal, is basically the attempt to lower your tax debt, the taxes that you are expected to pay out to the government by legal means. We all, as Americans, look for any type of way to legally lower the amount of taxes that we owe out to the IRS. However, sometimes there are individuals who will look towards alternative means to do that, and that is where that thin line between tax avoidance and tax evasion comes into play. The two do seem very similar, but in the eyes of the law, they're very different. One very well-known tax evasion scandal was with the Union Bank of Switzerland, or the UBS, and it was called the Union Bank of Switzerland evasion scandal. Basically, what happened with that was the Union Bank of Switzerland allowed Americans to hide their money in Switzerland accounts. Completely illegal the way that they were going about it. They were basically using those tax havens, which are legal, but they were allowing Americans to use them in an illegal manner to avoid paying the IRS the money that was due to them. The Swiss are very known for their privacy. Still to this day, they do still hold firm to their client confidentiality. Basically, what they did was they created offshore accounts which helped Americans to hide those funds. Basically, the Americans were able to evade the IRS over $20 billion. So while that may seem like a small amount on a larger scale, imagine that being done continuously year after year after year. Clearly, the act of tax evasion is an epidemic on our nation. It creates the inability for the nation to operate to its full capacity because it does not have the necessary funds that it needs in order to fund the military, in order to fund education, things of that nature, healthcare. All of those things are funded by taxes that are paid from taxpayers to the government. Without those things, the government does have less funds to do what it needs to do, obviously. For those who don't believe that this is something that affects what would be considered the common person, imagine the government does not have enough funds to fund education. Okay, as a taxpayer, that means that either the students will go without, the teachers will have to pay more, or the taxpayers will have to pay more in their taxes because those taxes then fund the schools. Now, if we were not losing so much in tax evasion, if the taxes were being paid to the government as they should be, then perhaps we would have more to fund the education, meaning the taxpayers would not have to pick up that slack. So regardless of whether or not you have children in the education system, if you have children at all, you have to consider the fact that you are still a taxpayer and your tax payments are going towards education. So in essence, tax evasion, if you look at it on a broader scale or even on a smaller scale, it does affect you as an individual. In conclusion, I would like to thank you all for listening to a brief synopsis of my topic this evening. Thank you and have a great night.